The fact is, there has never been a single study on the human safety of these products. Any implications to the contrary is a pure fabrication. Make the corporate apologists produce a single study, and they cannot. The important point is this. Among scientists, the scientific community is deeply divided as to whether these foods are safe or not. So the burden of proof is on industry. And so far, the corporations have failed to demonstrate the safety of these foods on humans through a single study.
Can I assure consumers that that scientifically the benefits of genetically modified foods outweigh the risks? And I mean, I can't. How that plays out in society and in the global world that we live in, who knows? I mean, you can point to many examples in the past of science run amok.
They very well know that most people wouldn't buy it. That's the reason why they refuse to put a label on it, and they just want a label that says it may contain genetically modified food. We don't want that. We want something that tells us it does not contain genetically modified food. It never got in touch with genetically modified elements through the process of production.
Well, Europeans basically are ahead of Americans in the sense that they decided several years ago that they didn't want anything genetically altered in their food supply. And we've seen very significant protests in the United Kingdom, in France, increasingly in Germany and other parts of Europe.
Genetic modification, that is the changing of the information that's inside of our cells. That information tells our bodies what to do. It says whether we have curly hair or straight hair, blue eyes or green eyes. All of that information is contained inside of the cell.
Some genetic experiments so far have explored mouse genes in potatoes, cow genes in soy and sugarcane, and even human genes in corn, potatoes, and rice.
Genetic engineering is a radical technology that allows us to take bits of DNA and genetic traits from insects, bacteria, viruses, even humans, and bring those into our food crops. Why? Because if you can teach a tomato, for example, to produce enough flounder blood, that tomato becomes frost resistant and hence more profitable. But a fabulous application of human technology, unless you're allergic to fish or your children are allergic to fish.
Scientists are seriously divided over this new technology. For some, like Dr. Peggy Lameau, the potential benefits that genetic engineering promises will allow science to improve on nature from the human perspective. One genetic application currently in our food is a corn plant with its own built-in pesticide.
Farmers were told certain things. They were told by Monsanto, they went to a special invited meeting, that you'd have a bigger yielder, more nutritious, and most of all, less chemicals. And that really caught the eye of farmers because a lot of farmers are very concerned with the amount of chemicals we're using.
If through genetic engineering we can take that Bt gene and splice it into our corn, then our corn will produce enough built-in pesticide to make it deadly toxic to insects. And that's what we've done. Bt corn is so deadly toxic to insects that even the finest film from Bt corn kills the monarch butterfly. My concern is, what is the effect on us of eating corn with its own built-in pesticides? The problem is, nobody knows.
Bacillus thuringiensis, better known as Bt, is a naturally occurring bacterium that can be found in most natural soil samples. Organic farmers have used it for years as an insect spray because when Bt exists outside the plant, it is soon broken down by the sun and is known to be harmless to humans.
It is true that under circumstances of heavy pest attack, because the crop plant contains an insecticide, it's possible in the short term for farmers to make less applications of insecticide. But the key word is short term, because it's been shown that when the insecticide is present in the whole plant all of the time, insects develop resistance to it much more rapidly than they would under other circumstances.
By bringing Bt into corn, it's only a matter of time before pests become Bt resistant. And the moment pests become resistant to Bt, farmers and organic farmers will have lost one of their most effective pesticides, natural pesticides against pests, and that is Bt. So we're tipping nature out of balance. We're using natural pesticides where they are unnatural. And certainly over time, just as with antibiotics, we're going to develop drug-resistant pests.
If we have plants containing Bt insecticide and after the harvest they're decaying in the soil, they continue to release that insecticide into the soil where they can interfere with natural microorganisms that play a key role in maintaining soil fertility. So there's a lot of unknowns with these insecticide-containing plants.
A more immediate concern to consumers is just what effect eating corn with a built-in pesticide will have on people.
The problem is nobody knows. There is no human safety testing that has ever been done on Bt corn or any other GE food, so we, the consumers, are being used as guinea pigs in this biotech nutritional experiment.
Perhaps the greatest claim of the biotech food corporations to date is that the new genetic technologies will end world hunger. By creating superfoods like golden rice, which is a rice enhanced with vitamin A for added nutrition, they claim the GM food creations will wipe out hunger. Other genetically engineered crops known as functional foods will be engineered with built-in vaccines, vitamins, and other supplements for human health and nutrition.
They will be, enhancements in human nutrition, animal nutrition. They will be, new and different approaches for disease, of course. But stress tolerance, building plants that can grow in high salt areas or that can grow in cold areas or in, very wet areas, all kinds of stresses. Plants that have higher yields, plants that utilize less fertilizer. A lot of this is aimed toward making the same amount of food while impacting the environment no more than we do now, or hopefully less. The other areas where I see incredible benefits in the future are using plants to make alternative sources for oil, for example, because plants are our most renewable resource. And what are we going to do when our non-renewable resources are gone? We have to have other ways. So if you can, for example, engineer plants to make industrial oils, to make gasoline substitutes, to make plastics, then it provides a renewable source of these kinds of materials. And these things have been done. They're in various levels of being developed as products.
In the year 2000, 109.2 million acres of genetically engineered crops were grown worldwide. 99% of the global total was grown in only 4 countries: the United States, Argentina, Canada, and China. The United States devoted almost 75 million acres of farmland to genetically engineered crops.
We have begun a transition in our food supply from foods which are conventionally grown to foods which are genetically engineered. And genetic engineering, no matter what anyone tells you, that process is not the same as conventional growth of food. It's a man-made process, has nothing to do with the ways of nature, is very violent, and raises questions that are ethical questions, questions of health and safety.
The question then is, are these things regulated? And the answer to that is absolutely. They are the most regulated foods we've ever eaten. And it's handled in the United States by 3 different agencies. The first is the United States Department of Agriculture, the second is the Food and Drug Administration, and the third is the Environmental Protection Agency.
There are no regulations. They've admitted there are no regulations. Right now it is going to change. They say they're going to require a notification 120 days before they come on the market. But that's it. They're still requiring, all the testing is still voluntary, certainly no labeling, no environmental review. So to say that these things are regulated is a joke.